everybody? This Ricondo coming back at you with another video. So today we're going to talk about wide receivers and tight end for our Atlanta Falcons. Before we get into the video, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit notification bell so you know when I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys like some of the content I'm putting out. And please also hit the share button for my video can go out through the YouTube universe. So like I said, guys, today we're going to talk about wide receivers and tight ends for the Atlanta Falcons, the state of those two positions, where we're at right now, and what I think we maybe need to do in the future going forward for this offseason, before free agency and during the draft. Good to go? All right, so first of all, before we get into that, let's talk about a couple of news around the league before we get into talking about the Falcons. First, what about this past weekend's playoff? I thought it was one of the best playoff weekends I ever seen. A lot of suspense. We had 4 walk-off wins for all 4 teams that are advancing. I mean, the 2 teams that are advancing to the NFC and AFC championships this weekend. And I mean, what can you say? That's why I think football is king in this country. I love football. All I was thinking was, how can Atlanta Falcons compete with any of those teams? Especially that last game, those 2 quarterbacks was very dynamic. It has a lot to say about defense, though. I thought the defense on both sides, talking about Kansas City and Buffalo, kind of played kind of conservative, just let the quarterbacks do what they wanted to do. Kind of got a little nervous. I thought the defense should have been just as aggressive as the offense was, and maybe you can make them make a mistake, but they wasn't. So that's what you had. You had a shootout, good entertainment for all of us. Like I said, too bad our Atlanta Falcons couldn't participate in the divisional round playoffs. Hopefully we can change that coming up this upcoming season. Other good news. Sean Payton decided to step down as the New Orleans Saints head coach. So what I'm saying about that is the NFC South is upside down right now. We have no idea what to think about NFC South. Still waiting on to hear what Tom Brady's going to do. He decided to come back. 2 of their coaches, Todd Bowles and Brian Leftwich, both have coaching opportunities. So both of the coordinators could also be out. So right now, we're looking at the NFC South. Atlanta Falcon could be the most stable organization. And even saying that, just 1 year in. Of course, we do have the gentleman from Carolina who's still there, but he just brought in a new offensive coordinator. Look like they're up and down. They don't know what's going on with their quarterback situation. So with saying all that, NFC South could be up in the air. The Falcons could have a good chance winning the NFC South this year. Still need to see what's happened, what they need to do. They still need to build their team the right way. Don't be lackadaisical. We need to see the opportunities we can do to grow our team. So like I said, we compete against some of those teams that we've seen this past weekend and all throughout the whole playoffs. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about our situation with receivers and our tight ends. We'll get into the receivers first. And after looking at our roster, I really couldn't believe and think about it. We was already had issues with that receiver this year. Kevin really decided to that he needed to take a break from the game, which is hope good things come for Kevin Ridley in the future. Wish him well, but he decided to miss half of the season. Played only 5 games. Rest of our guys, Russell Gage, Olamide Zaccheaus, Christian Blake, Charlie Sharp, all those guys are free agents. So the only 2 receivers that's coming back from this roster is Frank Darby and Calvin Ridley, which right now we don't know the status of Calvin Ridley and all the rumors about that he's probably going to be traded. So with that being said, we only got 1 receiver that was actually had some play time, which is Frank Darby, which really did not get any much play time at all. So we also have Austin Trammell on the futures contract. They brought him back. Braden Lewis, they brought him back as well. So right now it's 4 receivers on the roster. The other 2, I know you guys recognize Austin Trammell. He was a bright spot we had in training camp. Actually, if you go back, look at one of my first videos I did, I was talking about Austin Trammell, and he was actually showing up a lot in training camp. I actually thought he might have a chance to make the 53-man roster, but he did not. So they bringing him back. He's a smaller frame guy, so that's probably why he didn't stick. And we're going to get into that about these smaller guys for the Atlanta Falcons and the scheme that Arthur Smith loves to run, and which, in my opinion, I think going to a smaller type of receiver might not be the best fit for our Atlanta Falcons. So with that being said, like I always do, guys, we talk about the positions right now. We're going to talk about the draft, not free agency. Of course, like I said, before we even get to free agency, I expect the Atlanta Falcons to address the wide receiver position in free agency. I don't think they can afford to go into the draft with only those names I just mentioned. And then, like I said, we don't know what's going to happen with Calvin Ridley. So with that being said, if they decide to trade Calvin Ridley for some picks, and like I mentioned in the last video, if we can get a first-round pick, that'd be awesome. But if we can get a second, at least a second-round pick, that gives 4 picks in the second round. Right now, we have 8, 43, and 58. So we have the top 58 picks. I mean, we have 3 of the top 58 picks for Atlanta Falcons. That's going to bode well for us. So we're going to talk about, like I said, we're going to talk about the draft. We're going to talk about the big board as of today. As of today, of course, when they do their pro days, the combines, the scouts go out and look at the medicals, start talking to the coaches. All these rankings, these positions can change, and you don't know. It could be the big board from the so-called draft experts, but one of these receivers could be number 1 on Atlanta Falcon draft board, or somebody I don't even call on this list could be on Atlanta Falcon draft board that's number 1. So it all depends on the eye of the beholder, or the scout, or the general manager, or what Arthur Smith wants in a wide receiver. So that's what we're going to talk about. All right. So the first receiver we're going to talk about right now is number 8 on the big board is Garrett Wilson from Ohio State. Garrett Wilson, if you guys, he had a great season, Ohio State. And believe it or not, when I was thinking about Ohio State, I was talking about Chris Olave, which is actually 26 on the big board. I would think about him more than I would think about Garrett Wilson. But Garrett Wilson has more potential. He's under 192 pounds, kind of smaller frame. So personally, in my opinion, I don't want a receiver that small for the Atlanta Falcons, because I believe that Arthur Smith wants some physical receivers that can block, big receivers that can block. If he's going to try to recreate somebody like Brown from Tennessee, that's the kind of receiver we need. I think about how the kind of specimen Julio Jones was for the Atlanta Falcons. Roddy White, how big he was. Our slot receiver, Mohamed Sanu. Those big body receivers, that's what we need. Somebody that's going to be able to block, especially if you're going to try to get the running game going. We need those receivers to block on the edge. Of course, you do not need a big receiver to block. I think about Hines Ward. I think about what Cooper Kupp was able to do this year, blocking as a receiver. So you don't have to be big. You got to be physical, though. Steve Smith, another small receiver that was real physical. So not saying that you have to have a big receiver to be physical, but personally, I would prefer have a big receiver. However, Garrett Wilson is explosive. He get a lot of yak yards. So if the Falcons was to decide to take a chance on Garrett Wilson, would not be upset. But personally, I would like to go with a bigger receiver. Next is Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams. Everybody know who this kid is. He's lightning fast. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL in the national championship game, but he's still number 14 on the big board. So that means people are waiting. They wait for that young man to heal, to get back to 100%, and they'll still take their chances with him. Right now, ACL injuries, people are coming back faster from the injury after the surgery. So hopefully he heals fast, gets back. But not sure if that's going to hurt his stock. Personally, once again, talking about for the Falcons, I do not want another Alabama receiver. It seems like right now we even though we had Julio for 10 years, the way he decided to leave and didn't want to be here anymore, then right after that, Calvin Ridley decided to leave. Maybe these guys need to look in another direction for Alabama receiver. However, saying that, Jameson Williams is a burner. And you could never do without speed. We just saw what happened in the AFC division round with Tyreek Hill when he caught that ball and took it off. Same thing with Garrett Wilson, being able to get those yak yards. So if they will decide to go with somebody like Garrett Wilson or Jameson Williams, I won't be mad, because we need receivers. We need somebody to complement our world tight end, Kyle Pitts. All right, the next one is Drake London. Now, Drake London is the type of receiver that I can envision the Atlanta Falcons actually picking. He's 6'5". He's number 23 on the big board out of USC. Big receiver. 6'5" frame. I can imagine him with a Kyle Pitts, standing side by side. That could be a matchup nightmare for defenses, because now you got Kyle Pitts out there, and then you got Drake London, two big body pass catchers in your lineup. And I can just picture that, because you can picture somebody like put Kyle Pitts in the slot, put Drake London on the end, and those guys out there. Can you imagine that? So just somebody like Drake London, 6'5" frame, big guy, very explosive at USC. Somebody that we can actually, that I could see. So we talking about big body receiver. That's something that I definitely can see the Falcons actually picking. I'm not sure at 8. Like I said, if they was able to get a second or first round pick for Calvin Ridley, maybe they could move back in the first, or maybe Drake London would fall to the second round. They can pick him up in the second round. So, but a big body receiver like Drake London would be awesome. Next, we talked about Chris Olave. I mean, what can you say? Like I said, when I thought about Ohio State, that's one of the first receivers I thought about. I go back to the Justin Fields pro day when he was catching the ball for Justin Fields, and he was already catching scouts' eyes from just the pro day, the way he was catching the ball that day. So his college take speaks for itself. Another small receiver, however, like I said, it's about the toughness, and it go without saying that I'm not sure if he tough or not, but Chris Olave from Ohio State, he's number 26 on the big board. All right, next, Traylon Burks from Arkansas. Everybody knows Traylon Burks, 225 pounds, 6'3" receiver, another big body receiver. Like I said, so if we can somehow get Traylon Burks, Drake London, and we have Kyle Pitts, hey, we can give Matt Ryan more weapons to play with and to run that physical scheme that Arthur Smith want to run. Run the ball, pound the ball, play action playoff play action. Whew, explosive. I can only dream of something like that. It's almost like what we was thinking about when we thought Julio and Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley was actually going to be here together, and we thought it was going to be another greatest show on turf. But what happened? Julio decided he wanted to leave. Calvin Ridley decided he needed to take a break, and Matt Ryan was left with Russell Gage as his #1 receiver. So, and a young, however, phenom tight end, but he was a rookie. So that's what Matt Ryan was left with. All right. John Michie. Actually, I was actually surprised to see his name. I wasn't even aware that John Michie was actually coming out from Alabama. So Alabama actually lost both of their top receivers this year, going into the draft. So this is just Michie was actually the I think probably the more physical receiver for the Alabama. Williams was probably the most explosive, take the deep ball all the way down, but Michie probably was more physical. I know they really missed Michie in the national championship game. They also missed Williams in the championship game when he went down. But I don't care about that because we won. Georgia won the national championship. So, but Michie is another receiver from Alabama. I already spoke about what I feel about Alabama receivers. However, every Alabama receiver that have came out so far has been dynamic in the NFL. So we was able to get another Alabama receiver. I don't know what it is about Atlanta and taking receivers from Alabama. I guess because the track record, it's not a bad decision to do so. But if they want to go with somebody like Michie, I would not have a problem with that. Skye Moore from Western Michigan. He's number 51 on the big board. So somebody like Skye Moore from Western Michigan, I really don't know a whole lot about him, but he's number 51 on the big board. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm sold on the big body receivers right now. Drake London, Traylon Burks, and then the last receiver I want to talk about is George Pickens, 200 pounds. He's 70 on the big board, and in my opinion, he still has raw talent. I don't think we actually seen the capabilities of what George Pickens can actually be in the NFL because he got hurt in the spring. He came back. He had flashes in the national championship game. He had flashes the year before, but we really don't see the talent that George Pickens actually could be in NFL. So it's a raw talent. But being 200 pounds and being that big, and I know everyone's seen the clip where he was blocking the Michigan DB when he put him on his butt, just showing that physicality in the run game. That's what we need in Atlanta. If we can able to get him at maybe 58, that'd be great. We didn't have to. I don't think it'd be a reach if we was to take him at our third pick. That would be awesome. So we would be able to take him in the second round at number 58. A physical, big body receiver. Yes, I'm biased because he's coming from Georgia, but I can actually see somebody like George Pickens being one of big body receivers. So if you guys look at the theme for my passion, what I really think, what I want the Falcons to do is actually go in the draft and pick big receivers. I don't have anything against the explosive receivers I called. I think Garrett Wilson is going to have a great NFL career. Jameson Williams is going to have Chris Olave going to have a good season. Skye Moore. But in my humble opinion, I think the Falcons need to go out and get big body receivers. They need to get a Burks. They need to get a London. They need to get a Pickens. Big body receiver and add to the receiving core. I would love to see somebody lined up with Kyle Pitts out there, big body receiver. So that's where I stand with that. I really believe that we should go out and actually get some big body receivers, unless we decide to take some big body receivers in free agency. I know Williams out in the Los Angeles Chargers is a free agent, big body receiver. We might can take him, but I don't know any other receivers that's out there that could be a good fit for the Atlanta Falcons, that's willing to block, willing to do all the dirty work, and then be willing to catch great contested passes during the play action pass, going in the middle of the field, being able to take on linebackers, being able to take on strong safeties and free safeties. That's what I'm envisioning for the Atlanta Falcons, big body receivers. All right, so guys, that's what I think about our receivers. Let's move on to tight ends. Right now, tight ends, of course, we got Kyle Pitts, we got Parker Hesse, and we have John Rain on our rosters right now. Of course, Lee Smith, we know he retired. We wish him well in his future endeavors. I think his leadership and his veteran approach that he had for Kyle Pitts is definitely going to help him moving forward. Now Kyle Pitts going to be the big man in the room. He's going to have to start showing some leadership, and hopefully he learned something from Lee Smith during the offseason. Of course, Hayden Hurst is a free agent. We might bring Hayden Hurst back. I don't know yet. We have to see what's his asking price, what his markets look like. It'd be great to bring Hayden Hurst back. Then we might won't have to have this issue with our tight end position. We just need to bring another block in, and I think Parker Hesse showed some flashes, especially when Kyle Pitts couldn't go. So if we can do something with Parker Hesse, maybe we already got our blocking tight end on the team going to actually go out and catch passes as well in Parker Hesse. John Rain, he had some flashes in early in the season, in training camp. So those are 3 tight ends we have on the roster right now. Like I said, we're going to see what they do with Hayden Hurst. Terry Fontenot mentioned that he liked to look at the guys that's currently in the locker room and work with those free agents first. See, can he make a deal with them? Hayden Hurst would be a good fit to be back with this team. Maybe we can use him a little bit more because I don't think he got utilized a whole lot this year. That tight end duo could have actually been a little bit more explosive, in my opinion. But we'll just have to see if Hayden Hurst is going to actually make his way back to the team. All right, so let's go about 5 tight ends that's in the draft. And to be honest with you guys, I don't know a whole lot about these tight ends. I just went to the big board and pulled these names out. It wasn't a Kyle Pitts in this year's draft for tight ends. So if the Falcons do decide to pick a tight end, I think it will be in the later rounds, which is fine. Like I said, because I think with Parker Hesse, John Range, we can actually probably develop that blocking tight end that we need. We go two tight end sets, 12 personnel or 13 personnel. We need to go with 3 tight ends. But hopefully Hayden Hurst come back. We just have to see. But on these draft picks, the first one is from Texas A&M, 60 on the big board, Jalen Wydermyer from Texas A&M. Big receiver. It said that he came on late in the season, but once he came on, he actually started to show some flashes that he probably can be a pretty good tight end. So, Jalen Wydermyer from Texas A&M. Next, we're going to have Trey Mcbride from Colorado State. Had like over 90 receptions the last season. So, good catch, receiving tight end. We have to go back and honestly, guys, look at the tape and see about his blocking, see what he can do in that. I think every tight end that we do get, any tight end that the Falcons decide to acquire in this season, it's going to have to be at a block. Just can't be a receiver tight end. Jeremy Rucker, 87 on the big board. He's from Ohio State. Like I said, we know the talent Ohio State has there. Of course, Garrett Wilson. We already talked about Garrett Wilson, receiver. Chris Olave, receiver. Now we got a tight end coming out of Ohio State as well, Jeremy Rucker. And then last we have Josh Wow from Colorado, number 27 on the board. So those are tight ends that the Falcons could be looking at. However, we can also look in free agency. When we talk about free agency, I'll probably go over some of those tight end prospects that's out there that might fit the Atlanta Falcons. We got a little bit more video, a little bit more tape on them to know what they're capable of in the NFL. With tight ends, usually it takes tight ends a couple of years to get acclimated to the NFL. People like Kyle Pitts was an exception to the rule because that's why he was picked number 4 overall, because that's what is expected of him, to be able to grasp the playbook, be able to be a man among boys. In the NFL, man among men, right? But we expected Kyle Pitts to come in and hit the ground running. While these tight ends that I just called, they would definitely be big on special teams, but if they make this team, they definitely probably going to have a role in our 12 and 13 personnels that Arthur Smith like to put out there on offense. So, guys, those are our tight end and receivers. And to be honest, it's look a little bleak for us just looking at our pass catchers that we do have on the roster right now. All right. But that's definitely a need. So when we talk about needs, I think Terry Fontenot said it best. In the free agency, you kind of go get your needs. And in the draft, you can pick the best player available. One of these wide receivers that I call, one of those big body wide receivers that I call becomes available, and you're not reaching for those guys, you go ahead and take them. But I think for the most part, hopefully, and to be honest with you, it's not a whole lot of great receivers in free agency this year either. So unless they get Devontae Adams, well, I doubt they're willing to pay what Devontae Adams is going to be one for a salary contract, considering where we're at with our cap situation right now. So, but of course, he's out there. Like I said, Mike Williams from Los Angeles Chargers, he's going to be a free agent as well. So we have a couple decent receivers in free agency. However, it's going to be kind of hard to try to get some of those guys and see what we're going to be able to build a roster with just free agents. So we're definitely going to pick some guys up in the draft. Just depends on where they decide to go ahead and pick the draft. There was a mock draft done by Daniel Jeremiah on the earlier this week, and he actually had the Falcons picking a receiver at number 8. That could happen. If that's who they have as their best player available on their board when they're putting their draft board together, and they decide to pick a receiver, that's what they decide to pick. Remember that the draft is not made with one pick. So if they decide to pick a receiver and that's the best player they had available on their board, that's who they picked. Remember, you guys I recalled, I said I probably would pick Tyler Linderbaum. I probably would pick Neal. I know they're offensive linemen. We've been going back and forth for offensive linemen for the last couple of years, trying to get this offensive line figured out. But if one of those guys were to fall, I wouldn't be surprised if they picked that. Of course, we need defensive ends. We need defensive tackles. Honestly, we have a lot of needs on this team. So I don't really think the Falcons go wrong with their first pick if they pick one of those needs and they felt like he was the best player available on the board. So with that, guys, that's all I have. I really want to hear what you guys think about these receivers and these tight ends, who you think the Falcons should pick. Do you agree with me that we need big body receivers going into next year to help with the blocking, help with the going up with the play action, going over to be able to attack the ball at its high point, the highest point, being physical, being able to take over the NFC South when the door could be left wide open for us. All right. Last thing I'm going to talk about is my picks for the championships games this weekend. To be honest with you, I could see either game going either way. So, of course, the 49ers have the Rams number. Seem like they can't crack that code. But third time could be a charm. They don't play them twice this year. And the 49ers seem like they have the Rams numbers. And then I don't even think it's going to be a complete home game because a lot of people from the Bay is probably going to come down to Los Angeles and watch that game. So it could be more like a 50-50 stadium with the 49er fans being in there as well. So I'm not even sure how much home field advantage the Rams going to have. But if I had to go on a limb, I would say that the Rams have to win this game with all the picks that they gave up, all the big signings that they brought in, all the players, Von Miller, the Odell Beckham Jr.'s, the Jalen Ramsey, the Aaron Donalds. They stacked. So if they're able to actually pull this off, that's what they were supposed to do. They almost gave the game away to Tom Brady too. I was scared, to be honest with you, but I'm glad they pulled it off. The next game, of course, the Chiefs is the favorite, but going off the history of this season alone, the Chiefs came to Arrowhead and they was able to put up great numbers against that defense. And what we seen from that defense against Josh Allen, they seem vulnerable. We don't know what's the deal with Honey Badger. He was in concussion protocol. I don't know if he's going to be able to come back this weekend. Hopefully he do. So we'll be able to see the Kansas City Chiefs at got their full complement of players. However, those guys are explosive. So I'm going with the Super Bowl. Going to be the Los Angeles Rams against the Kansas City Chiefs. But if it ends up being the San Francisco 49ers against the Cincinnati Bengals, I wouldn't be surprised. But those are my picks. Chiefs against the Rams. The Rams going to win at home, stay at home, and play in the Super Bowl at home. So, and I don't have a Super Bowl winner at this time. So I have to see how the game goes this weekend. But those are my picks. You guys let me know what you think. And last thing I got to say is I don't want to hear that the Bills should have got a chance in overtime. The Falcons didn't get a chance in overtime when we lost the Super Bowl. I don't want to hear it. It's the rules. It is what it is. You can't stop them at 60 minutes. You lose the coin flip. You leaving it up to chance. Don't let it come to that. That's all I got to say. So this your boy Ricondo. Come back at you with another video. Peace.